Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's little corner of the internet. We've got a third-party Transformers review for you. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Newage Toys Octavian. So this is their take on a mini masterpiece Ultra Magnus. This is legend scaled. So as we always do, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging first. And you see right on the front, you've got that Ultra Magnus artwork. He is the powered Conquest. You have Newage up there in that corner, and you have that. And down here you have number 28 Octavian. Down here on the bottom you've got a couple product shots showing the 27W Conquest. This is the Albino Prime. And here you have Ultra Magnus trying to pick his nose. Back here you've got a couple product shots of Ultra Magnus taking on Galvatron. And you have all that. And you have your warnings down here. And you have the Newage logo and Made in China down here. And on this side you've got the product shots showing him in both modes. And then over here on this side you have the product shots showing both modes with the UPC. And product shots, both modes, no UPC. So that is it for the box. So let's go ahead and see what came inside that package. Behold everything that came inside that box with Octavian. And we are not going to start where we normally do because this guy did not come with a little sheet of warnings. So we're going to skip that little sheet of warnings and we're going to move right on to the instruction booklet. And then he does come with a really wide array of accessories, which personally I think is great. And we'll start over here on the left with all of his weaponry. And we'll start with the Optimus Prime or the Albino Prime rifle. And for a little rifle, yeah, this thing looks good. Looks real good. I mean, it's nicely detailed. It's got paint right here in the stock. So yeah, I mean, no complaints there whatsoever. Just a good looking prime rifle. And then we'll move on to his secondary Ultra Magnus rifle, which it's just painted white, or molded white I should say. There's no paint on there, but it looks good. The amount of detail in here, this is a good looking weapon. And then we'll get to the main rifle event here. This is the Ultra Magnus rifle that we've come to know and love. And yeah, it looks pretty darn good. Again, molded in white, no paint, but gosh, look at all the detail in there. Looks great. All right, so now we'll move on over here to the right side and we'll just go ahead and get these rockets out of the way now. So these are his shoulder rockets. And they look pretty good as well. Decent amount of detail. I mean, again, keeping in mind for something this size. So it's not like these are very big. And as an added bonus, they do come apart. So, you know, if you wanted to launch them or, I don't know, do something with them, you sure can. All right, and then there's the backside. So just a little bit of a hollow area there, but you'll never see it. All right, and other than being left hand and right hand, they're identical. So very cool. And he does come with a few bonus hands. So by default he comes with his fists. Now he does also have the bonus hands. He has the splayed out hand right there. He does come with two of these. And I have the other one. It's still on the sprue. So when this was shipped to me, these were still on the sprue from the injection molding machine. So there you go. And then he has pointy finger hands. So, you know, if he needed a... Uh-oh, lost it. Got it back. If he needed to call somebody out, you know, blame them for something, or, as I said earlier, pick his nose, whatever the case may be, he certainly could do that. There you go. And same thing, this came on the sprue. All right, so he does have one more added little bonus, which is absolutely phenomenal. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. In his chest, he does come with the Matrix of Leadership. So you just open this up, and forgive me, I don't have fingernails, or at least very effective ones. There we go. So you open that up, and then you can see just a peek of the Albino Prime in there. And then you open these little windows up right there, and then boom, you have a matrix of leadership, and it does come out. This thing is incredibly tiny, but let's go ahead and take it out. If we can get it out without a tool, maybe. Success! We were able to get the matrix of leadership out. And here it is. Look at that. Very, very, very cool. Love seeing that. And then on the back side, not a lot going on. But again, for something this size, how cool. That is it as far as accessories go. And what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and we will look at the details on Mr. Octavian. Let's bring this guy in for a close-up, shall we? And we will start, as we always do, with that head sculpt. And yep, that is Ultra Magnus. There's no doubt about that. The blues look good. Those eyes look good. That face looks great. Again, keep in mind this guy is Legends class. So he's not big, but he is packed with details. And then coming down here to that chest, everything looks good there. Absolutely. Just looks great. Love this guy. And then there you go. You've got those big old Ultra Magnus legs. And coming up here, taking a look underneath. No hollow areas. It all looks good. Got a little bit of a spot right there for the arms, but other than that, nothing really to complain about. Forearms look good. Squeeze that back together. Yeah. Even in the back, he falls apart a little bit in the back because you can see that these are what I like to call the Albino Prime. These are the Albino Prime folded up arms, but even then, he's still a solid figure all the way through. This guy just looks good from every angle. And I mean, he looks sturdy and bulky, and he's just a soldier. That's all he is. He's just a soldier. But yeah, details on this guy. Looks so good. All right, so let's talk about articulation. So that head is on a ball joint, so you can get a little bit of a side to side, and you can get some up and down, and then you can get some up like that if you want to do that. It's part of the transformation. And then you can turn that head left and right all the way around if you choose to do so. At the shoulders, you can bring them up like this. So you have a little bit of articulation here, but then you also have articulation down here that you can utilize if you choose to do so. And then you can take them all the way around, and you have bicep rotation, nice deep elbow bend. And then at the wrists, you do get wrist rotation simply because you have to rotate these to pull them out and replace these fists with other hands, but you don't get any type of wrist tilt or anything like that. Now down here at the waist, you get, if you want to disconnect the transformation joint, you can get yourself an ab crunch. So you can get a little bit of an ab crunch there if you want, but then everything gets all loose on you. So I don't really count it as an ab crunch, but you do get waist rotation all the way around. And then let's go ahead and move. He's got a couple sets of hip skirts here because, oh, here's the secret. It's just Albino Prime underneath. Who didn't know that, right? And so let's move all these hip skirts out of the way so we can have some nice... Oh, I'm losing his armor. Line it up, line it up. Don't reveal all your secrets yet. I can get my fingernail in there. My goodness. There we go. All right, so now that we've got all those hip skirts out of the way, we can talk about his range in his hips. So you can get that much of a split out of him. So no Van Damme, but considering the fact he's a big little guy or a little big guy, whatever you want to call it, I think that's pretty good range. And then you can kick forward that far. You can kick backward that far. So a good significant kick. And then you do have, now this is for transformation, but you can use it if you want. You do have the ability to actually slide these hips down. So if you wanted to do something like that for whatever reason, but typically they're going to stay right there. And then if we put all these hip skirts back down, make him decent again. Look, he's turning red. He's embarrassed. We had all those hip skirts up. Then down here at the thighs, you do get thigh rotation, so you can go around all the way around if you choose to do so. And then at those knees, you actually do get a nice deep knee bend, even with him being a big guy. So that's appreciated. And then down here at the feet, you actually do, in the Ultra Magnus mode, you get ankle tilt. You don't get anything forward and back, but you do get the ankle tilt, which is pretty significant. So you could really do a lot of crazy stuff with this guy. It actually goes even further. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how far you're going to want to go before, you know, I guess you could do something like that. So yeah, he does have a nice, good sumo mode. But that is it for the details and the articulation in Ultra Magnus mode. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to bring in comparisons for Ultra Magnus, and then we're going to transform him to the Albino Prime mode. I'll bring in comparisons for Albino Prime, and then we'll transform him into his vehicle mode, and then we'll do all the vehicle mode comparisons there, and then get him back to his robot mode. So next step here is actually going to be comparisons in the Ultra Magnus mode. Real quick, before we get into the comparisons, I almost forgot. I wanted to show you guys the Octavian or Ultra Magnus fully equipped with all of his accessories. So as you can see, first and foremost, I don't know if it was intentional or if it was by design, but his Ultra Magnus gun is effects compatible with the War for Cybertron effects. So very cool, nice to see that. So you can see he does have his Ultra Magnus gun, he has his rocket launchers, he also has his secondary rifle over here, and then on the back, I don't think this is meant for weapon storage. There's nothing in the instructions about it for weapon storage, but it works for me. It's not exactly elegant or practical, but if you need a place to put the Prime rifle when you're in Ultra Magnus mode, you do have this port right there on the back. So wanted to show this to you guys real quick because he just looks great. He looks great posing and looks good with his accessories. So just wanted to bring this to you real quick, and now what we'll do is we will go ahead and we'll jump into those Ultra Magnus comparisons. For our first Ultra Magnus comparison, here we have the Newage Octavian on the left next to what remains of my G1 Ultra Magnus. Next comparison, here you see the Newage Octavian on the left, and on the right is the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. The next comparison is the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Leader Class Ultra Magnus. And for our final Ultra Magnus bot mode comparison, here you have the Newage Octavian on the left compared to the MP22 Masterpiece Ultra Magnus on the right. And you can absolutely see just where Newage got their inspiration. It's pretty obvious here between the two. But gosh, these two look amazing together. This is like a father and a son, or a mini-me, whatever you want to call it. They look great. With Octavian having the added bonus of no Masterpiece Ultra Magnus butt flap. So there you go. Alright, that's it for the Ultra Magnus comparison. So let's go ahead and get Octavian transformed here into his Albino Prime mode. So as you would expect with an Ultra Magnus figure, there is a parts forming aspect here to get him from his bot mode ultimately to his truck mode. And the same rule applies here for Octavian. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you're going to do is just start taking pieces off of him. So you can take his little rockets off and set them off to the side. And then coming down here to his legs, you have two little flaps. So you have this flap here, you're going to open this flap up, and then you have this red flap back here. You're actually going to pull this down, and that actually disconnects the Albino Prime leg from the Ultra Magnus armor. And at this point, then you can just pull the Albino Prime leg out, and then you can set this piece off to the side. Once you do that, you have this thigh armor right here. Just give that a pull, take that off, and set it off to the side. And we'll do the same thing over here. So you're going to open this up. And now it looks like Ultra Magnus skipped leg day. So, you know, you have that. If you want to do it, he does look kind of chicken-legged there. All right, so now take this centerpiece right here, just where he rotates at the waist, and give the body a pull. And what that's going to allow you to do is actually going to separate this, and it's going to let you take this codpiece armor out. So there's two little tabs in here. You just lift this up, slide that out, and it comes right off. All right, now we're left with the upper body. Upper body is really straightforward. You have two tabs back here on either side that are going to hold this in. You're going to give this a little bit of a pull, and give this a little bit of a pull, and then that's going to allow this to slide right off. So this entire thing comes off, and there you have Albino Prime down, but there you have the Ultra Magnus armor completely removed. Alright, so now you can turn your attention to the Albino Prime. So this is actually some really clever engineering on the Albino Prime part, so kudos there. What you want to do is take these arms, extend these arms out, bring those back up so they're out of your way for now. And then you're going to take these two little pieces right here. You're going to give these a pull and just start loosening these up, and they're actually on their own assembly right under here. So you can start to give that a pull, and then you're going to loosen all this up, because ultimately what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to bring these pieces down to get this piece out of your way. And this is temporary, but you need to bring all that down so you have the clearance right here to take this assembly right here, and you're actually going to rotate that 180 degrees. Alright, this is the same thing you would do to get him into cab mode, but we're not putting him in cab mode yet. You're just getting this out of your way. The reason you need to get this out of your way is you need to get all this stuff clear in order to put the arms in the right position for Albino Prime mode. So once you're here, now you can just take this cab and you're going to start pulling all this stuff up. And all we're doing is we're getting this out of our way. This is going to go right back where it was, but we're getting it out of our way right now. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to take these arms, we're going to swing them out, and then we're actually going to start rotating the arms 180 degrees so they are now oriented forward. So you can see the difference. This is before, this is after. So you want to be able to bring these arms forward, and you're going to rotate it right here on this joint right there. Okay, so after you've done that, you're going to essentially reverse everything you just did. So if it helps, I know it helps me, I swing these out. I swing these little cab pieces out so I can get the clearance that I need to bring this cab back down and then tuck all this back away. So you're going to tuck all that back in, give that a shove. So you should have something like that, and then you can just take these cab pieces and swing those back. Do that on both sides. And once you've done that, you can now take this piece, rotate that back up. While you're here, grab this little red tab, give that a pull, and voila, you have an Albino Prime head. We're just going to keep all this up and out of our way for now. Next thing is, we're going to swing these back up. You should have them oriented like this, because then they're going to rotate just like this. And then you have on this die-cast metal piece right here, you're going to give this a nice gentle push and make sure you have this oriented in the right way. Give all that a nice gentle push, give that a squeeze, and now all you need to do is bring this back down on its waist. So reach right under there, give that a nice gentle push. Give it a firm squeeze once you have it there, just so you make sure you have everything where it's supposed to be. And then straighten everything out. And rotate his fists. There you have Ultra Magnus in his unarmored mode, or as I like to call him, the Albino Prime. So now that we have Ultra Magnus unarmored in his Albino Prime mode, let's go ahead and take a close-up look at the Albino Prime mode here. And we'll bring him in and start as we always do with that head. And yeah, yep, that's an Albino Prime, no doubt about it. He looks good. Now, my antennae are curved inward. I'm not sure if that's just when he gets tucked away or if they were molded that way, but it's not that big of a deal for me. It's just something that I noted. And then coming down here to the chest, you can see right there through the chest he does have that matrix of leadership showing. And then he's got that nice grill right there. And pretty decent cod piece and crotch area right there. Good detail down in these legs. I mean, it's not overwhelming, but it's enough to make the figure look really good. And comparatively big feet for a little figure. And then you can see everything for the most part cleans up pretty darn good on this figure, especially for a figure this size. So a lot of the truck disappears as it should. And then you do have just a little bit going on right here. This is where the truck cab tucks away, and then you have the faux cab here, which becomes the chest. So if I have any complaints, it's really just how much of a chest he has. You know, he's not going to look down and see anything but the top of that faux cab. So not really a complaint. I think the engineering on this is done very well. So just something of note. And then down here in these arms, good detail all the way around. You do have those iconic chevrons right there. And then coming around to the back, same thing. He cleans up really good. He's got a little bit of a backpack, but hey, so does MP44. So what are you going to do? But yeah, cleans up pretty good. Looks pretty decent back there. So no major complaints whatsoever. And then the paint apps, a lot of this is molded, but some of these areas are painted, and the paint just looks so good on these. It's like a pearlescent paint, which, man, it really makes this figure look good. Now, as far as articulation, it's going to be a lot like the Ultra Magnus mode because he was just an armored Ultra Magnus. So this is a ball joint head. You're not going to get a lot side to side. You're going to get up and down, and you can go around if you choose to do so. And then on those shoulders, you can come out that far. You can go all the way around. And you do have bicep rotation right there. And you do have wrist rotation on this figure as well. And you do have, as we saw, the waist rotation. And you can do a little bit of an ab crunch with this guy if you want. It's not going to be a lot. And then once you do that, it's going to give him kind of a little bit of a rocking back and forth. So just user beware if you want to do that. Then you have to squeeze everything back together. But you do have that waist rotation and I guess an ab crunch if you want to use it. And then you do have, I always like to get the hip skirts out of the way. It makes me nervous just for interference reasons. And then you can come out that far with him. You can go forward that far. You can go backward that far. So great splits on this guy. And just like with the Ultra Magnus mode, if you wanted to, you could bring those hips down and give him one of those looks, I guess. If you needed a little bit of extra height, but it makes him look really weird. And you do have thigh rotation, so you can go all the way around with those. You have double jointed knees, so nice deep knee bend in the Albino Prime mode. And then down here at the feet, you can get a little bit of back. You can get a decent amount of forward. And then you do get severe ankle tilt. This is due to transformation. But yeah, do that ankle tilt to your heart's content. And there you go. So yeah, he can hit the dance moves as well. And here we see Albino Prime all accessorized up, if you will, with his Prime rifle. And yes, the Prime rifle is effects compatible, so you can have all kinds of fun with this guy as far as the effects go. And I chose the blue Rodimus Prime effects because I thought it matched the blue of the Albino Prime. So there you go. Alright everybody, so for our first Albino Prime comparison, here we have on the left what Newage Toys is calling the 27W Conquest. This is their unarmored Albino Prime for their Octavian Ultra Magnus. We have the Conquest on the left, and on the right we have my G1 Ultra Magnus Albino Prime. Next up is the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom or Earthrise, take your pick, Leader Class Optimus Prime. Next comparison is MP10 Masterpiece Optimus Prime. And for our final comparison, here we have the Newage Conquest, aka Albino Prime on the left, compared to the MP49 Masterpiece Nemesis Prime. So I figured we would end this on a note of all white versus all black, and actually some comparable engineering here. Both of these are amazing figures. All right, it's transformation time. So just a quick note before we start. Just want to point out he is a little guy and my fingers are big and sometimes they'll get in your way. I'll do my best to try to keep them clear, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do, and this is actually maybe one of the most important steps because it'll save you some pain later on, is you're going to want to take these fists and you're going to want to rotate these so the thumbs are facing outward. This is really important when it comes to the orientation, when you get these arms tucked away in cab mode, to make sure that they don't get in your way. So make sure that you have both of those tucked away like that. All right? So now that we have that taken care of, the next thing we'll do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull the body apart. Now when we do, everything's going to get really loose, and these two pieces right here are going to flop around on us the whole time. It's just part of the deal. But let's go ahead, and when you do that, you're going to pull all that apart, and I'm going to get these arms out of my way right now. I'm just going to lift those up like that, and then these are just going to dangle. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to take this assembly right here, and we're going to swing this assembly down. And as we do that, doing your best to keep these out of the way, you're also going to need, once you've turned that 180, you're going to need to turn this piece 180 degrees for the front of the cab. All right, so just be careful. This is painted. Do your best to make sure that that doesn't interfere or run into anything. All right, now that we've done that, what we need to do is we need to make room for these arms because we're going to have to rotate these arms 180. So this entire cab, go ahead and pull on this red tab right here, and that's going to give Optimus, the head, the room to get out of the way, and then you can just tuck that away so he's ready for some nap time. Now, we're going to take this cab assembly right here, this kind of this L-shaped. This is all going to unfold, so it's going to be a little bit of origami. So I'm going to reach right here, I'm going to give that a pull, and I'm going to bring that out. Now, to make it easier, if you want to grab these little pieces right here and pull them out just a little bit like that for clearance, go ahead and do so, and then you're going to swing that all the way out. Tuck Optimus's head back in where it belongs. There you go. So you should have his head oriented like that as well. All right, so once you've done that, now we're going to get to work on these forearms, or these entire arms, not the forearms yet. So this swings around like such. I'll show you there. Put your thumb here, the arm, and you're going to rotate it 180 degrees. So I'll give you, there's a before, there's an after. All right, so we'll do the same thing over here. Give that a rotation like that, and now you're going to rotate these arms around and start getting everything oriented the way they should be. So before I do that, I'll show you this. So you have these pieces right here that if you open or you push the arm down, it's going to give you that ability to get your thumb under there and open these pieces up. And what you're going to see, this is actually really helps quite a bit with visual orientation. You're going to see, okay, well, look at that. That definitely looks like the outside of a cab. So what you're going to do, take your smokestack, so it's in the back, rotate this part of the arm down, so that's the outside of the cab, and then you're going to give this thing a bend, and it's just going to consume that elbow joint right there. All right, so that way you have your orientation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate these around so they're like that. That way it's going to be easy for me whenever I'm ready to swing these in. They're going to swing in just like that. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just have these arms up and out of my way. Now they are, for all intents and purposes, they're ready for the folding. So what I'm going to want to do now is I'm going to try to give you a clear view. I'm going to rotate this waist around 180 degrees. And then when I do that, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this cod piece right here. This needs to rotate 180 as well. Just be careful when you do this because it's only being held on by these friction pins right here. So just, oh so carefully, rotate that around 180 degrees because you're going to want that upside down. And then take these legs and give those hips a pull. Pull those hips down. And then push these hip skirts in. All right, so that opens up quite a bit of space for you right here. And then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take that piece right there and swing it backwards, because ultimately this is going to be the back of the cab. Now, once you're at this point, take your wheels, rotate those wheels around so the wheels are going to be on the ground, of course. And right now everything is really loose, and that's just the way it's going to be for a bit, but I promise you it does tighten up. All right, so once you have all this, now you're going to swing these arms down. So take those arms and swing them down. And again, just looking for the right amount of clearance. And then I'm going to flip this red tab up right here so you can see what's going on. There is a tab and a slot right in there. And then I'm going to line that arm up and I'm going to tab it in just like that. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And now you have the exterior, the back of the cab, ready to go. And then once you bring these back, that's going to orient these wheels where they need to be. And if you look underneath, you have little tiny slots that go to little tiny tabs right there. And that's what you're looking for as far as alignment. Generally speaking, you don't need to worry about getting them hard locked yet, because your next steps are right here. You're actually going to take this cab piece, the front, and you're going to give this a push so it's sitting flush. And now for these upper components right here, you're going to swing those out like that, and then you've got little pieces right here you're going to grab and you're going to swing those out, and those are actually the doors to the semi. All right, and do the same thing right here. And then you're going to bring all this down. And once you do, everything should line up fairly well. And this is where you're just going to do a little bit of squeezing, a little bit of wiggling. Make sure you've got everything lined up as such. Bring those doors closed. Get those wheels where they need to be. There we go. Now we're getting some progress. And everything is going to stay loose until we do this one last step, which is coming up here. So once you get everything tabbed in, you're still kind of all loosey-goosey. You're going to take this piece right here, and you're going to line it up right there with those. Give that a squeeze. And then once you've done that, everything is nice and tight now. Nothing's going to move on you. All right, so now we can turn our attention to these legs. All right, so the legs, first thing you're going to do, just spread them out a little bit. That way you've got some clearance. We'll start with this leg over here. Take the leg, rotate it 180 degrees. Then you're going to take this foot and you're going to swing that out, and then you're just going to swing it up like that. And then that's going to give us the clearance that we need to open this leg up right here and then swing that out. Now, once we've done this, now we have the ability to take this shin piece right here and swing that shin piece 180 degrees underneath. After we've done that, you get this little, what was the faux gas tank, which is actually going to become the bumper. All right. And once you've done that, let me get you a good view here. You're going to take this assembly and you're going to swing all this forward and take this and swing that back as you go. All right. So once you're here, don't tab anything in yet because we still need to tab this leg in. But for the most part, you are complete on this leg. So that's good enough now that we're, well, let me take that back. We're going to do one thing. We're going to rotate this toe. All right. So you're going to rotate that toe, and then eventually this tab right there is going to tuck up underneath in the slots just under there. But we're not going to do that just yet. I'm going to come over here to this leg first. I'm going to rotate this leg 180 degrees, and then I'm going to bring this out. I'm going to tilt that down. I'm going to open this up. Now this is where this one is a little bit different. It's kind of clever in its design. So you actually will need to take this piece and you're going to swing that out a little bit, and I'm going to try to show you this. So this piece and this piece are mated together. So hopefully you can see that there's a little bit of a gap there. When you push it down, it closes the gap, and then it opens. So, and the reason being is because this, it's part of the transformation process. So you can notice that there's a little bit of a notch there on this piece that there is not on this piece. So just something to be aware of. These two legs are slightly different. But once you've done that, then you can swing that piece around and then bring this out. And then you can start collapsing everything. And then this is where you're just going to start pushing everything together. So push those out. Get those approximately where you want them to be. Make sure everything looks good. Tilt that toe. And then now you can take these wheels on either side and give them a pull. Collapse those wheels. Do the same thing over here. Collapse those wheels. And then you can start. You've got a tab and a slot right in there. Give those a push. And then fold these in. So you've made your hitch. And you're going to... Alright, sorry about that edit, guys. Let's try this again. So you're going to bring these legs together. Squeeze everything in. Being sure to clear underneath here. And then once you have those legs together like that, I got a little wiggly there, there we go. Once you have those legs together like that, then you're just going to squeeze these pieces together right there. Give everything one final squeeze. Make sure all is well. And there you go. There you have the 27 Conquest, aka Albino Prime, in his truck mode. And while we have him in his cab mode here, just without the trailer, let's go ahead and look at those details, and then we'll do a couple real quick comparisons. So let's go ahead and bring him in, and we'll start at the front. And you can see that, as far as I'm concerned, I think this cleans up really well. It looks good. It looks good. I think this thing all the way around, squeeze that door in a little bit. I think this thing all the way around just looks fantastic. For something that's, for the most part, the size of a Hot Wheels or a Matchbox car, man, this came out looking so good. I mean, just details galore all the way around. The painted areas look good. You can't really tell that it's a robot. You know, he gets a little chunky here in the back, but show me an Optimus Prime that doesn't. So yeah, I mean, this just came out looking good. The smokestacks are nice and chrome. Yeah, there it is from the top. And from the bottom, even from the bottom, you can't really tell it's a robot. Everything just compacts up really nicely. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll just bring in a couple real quick comparisons here just so you can see how he stacks up against a couple of other vehicles. I figured there's no sense wasting a whole lot of time just doing a cab comparison here, so we're just going to do it all in one chunk. So, you know, of course, here in the middle we have the H27 Conquest from Newage Toys, and over here we have the MP22 Ultra Magnus cab, and then over here we have the G1 Ultra Magnus cab. So you can see just how well done this little figure is. I mean, he looks so good next to these guys, and so much engineering packed into this little figure. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, there you go, guys. I mean, it's other than missing the gray stripe, this guy's pretty much got it. You know, we'll do another view here. There you go. He looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and build that trailer. Maybe it's just me, but I think right here it looks like Ultra Magnus had a really bad day. It looks like maybe Galvatron had his way with him trying to get to the Matrix. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this trailer assembled. So much like other Ultra Magnuses in the past, this is just a lot of parts forming. Not a whole lot to it, really. But we'll start right here with this center piece, or this cod piece right here. So really the only thing you're going to do is, this is how he is in robot mode, and what you're going to do is you're going to flip these around and you're going to flip this down, and that is essentially ready for the trailer mode. This is my single most annoying part of the trailer, but we'll get to that here shortly. And then you can take, we'll start with the right shin or lower leg, and what you do here is you will just open this up right there, and then you'll do the same thing with this upper piece. You're going to open this up, and then you're going to bring this down, and you can kind of see you're starting to form the trailer right there. And then you take this white piece right there and bring that down, and then that's part of the ramp. And then the last step that you're really going to have for this is just taking these wheels. So make sure your ankle tilt is pushed all the way in and those wheels are sitting on a ball joint. And then you're going to rotate those 180 degrees and bring those up so that way they're ready to go. All right, so you have one side trailer piece ready. We'll do the same thing with this piece right here. So we're going to open this up, bring it down, close that up, and then take this piece, bring it down, take the wheels, rotate them 180, and then bring them down. And then you have the other half of the back of the trailer ready to go. And then you can take these little shin guard pieces. They do tuck away right up under here. So you can just take those, line them up, and tuck them away right in there. So do that. Do the same thing over here. Tuck it away. And then we'll work on this main piece up here. And you don't have to, especially if you have the fist, you don't have to, but I'm going to take the hands off. So take one hand off and take the other one off. Woo-wee. Boy, that went flying. All right, so once you have that, then you're going to lift this head just like that, tilt it back. All right, and then he looks really awkward right there. Then you're going to open these up. As you open these up, you have these double hinges. So you're actually going to take these and swing them around on the double hinges like that. Do the same thing over here. And then you're going to open up these Magnus arms and stretch them out. Do the same thing over here. Open those up, stretch them out. And you should start having something that's looking a little bit like that. Then you're going to rotate these 180 and flip them up like this. And then right here you have, this is a clever little thing here. If I can get it, bend that down a little bit, it makes it easier. At least it does for me. Double hinge, bring that forward, and then collapse that. And then do the same thing over here. And then you can start bringing these two pieces together so you have your peg and your port. And then you have your tab and your slot. Put those two pieces together just like that. All right, and now it's a matter of the assembly. And then this is, like I say, this is the part that's going to annoy me, because you have this piece right here that you're going to try to fit underneath this. And I'll tell you now, if it annoys me, I'm just going to do an edit. Hey, all right, good news. I finally got it assembled, and you guys did not have to hear me curse. So that's a win-win. Like I say, it's not complicated, it's not complex. It's just frustrating when you're dealing with something of a certain size and it's just difficult access. So that being said, I'll show you what was going on here. So you have all these points. You know, you've got a tab and a slot back here. You've got the tabs and slots back here. You've got a peg and a port up here. And then you have the little assembly down here that you need to tuck away. But once you get everything pegged together, everything is nice and solid. It's just a matter for me, really, of this piece right here. It just really, it gets in my way. It's annoying. Not enough that I hate the figure, not even close. But, ooh, man, sometimes it can make me think bad things. All right, so anyway, now that we're here, now we can, do the finishing touches. So you can take his missile racks here, or his missile pods, and then you plug those in. So these actually plug in. You have slots right up here, and you plug them in to those slots just like that, and you do the same thing on the other side, and then you have his trailer all finished. And the last step really is to just put the trailer onto the truck. And in order to do that, you just need to do a little bit of pre-work on the truck itself. So looking back here at the hitch, this is essentially it's a lock fit. So if you look at this pin right there, you can see that the bottom of it, the diameter is a little bit bigger than the top, because you're going to lock it in. And you can see right here, it's not going to fit until you spread this out a little bit. So all you're going to do is lift this area up right here, this little cod piece, just to make sure that you've got those tabs clearing on either side, and then that's going to give you that ability to give this a little bit of a split. You're not going to take it all the way apart, you're just going to give it a split right there, which allows you then to fit that in, and then you're going to give this a squeeze and put it all back together. There we go. And once you give it a squeeze, and then you have that completely assembled, and there you have Octavian in his complete transport truck mode. And man, he looks good. So let's go ahead and bring him in and look at those details and just take a moment to admire all the engineering that got packed into this, except for that little piece down there. Ooh, I hate you. But anyway, all right, we'll bring him in, and we've already seen the truck, but we'll get him in the frame anyway. And you can see just how good this thing looks. I mean, this is no doubt Ultra Magnus. You've got that in the back, and then these do come down. Give those a little push, there we go. And then your ramps do come down. These are just really tight. There you go. Push them down the rest of the way. So these are just really tight joints right there. But yeah, that does come down. So you can, if you have tiny little cars that would fit, you can pretend to put the tiny little cars up in there, and you're good to go. Yeah, there it is from the top, and there it is from the bottom. And yeah, like I said, for the most part, the robot disappears. I think they've done an excellent job here. This isn't just a GoBot folding the legs kind of deal. The robot disappears, and he looks great in vehicle mode. So, but what we'll do now, now that we've got him in the full Ultra Magnus mode, we'll do a couple of real quick comparisons here in this full mode as well. For our first full Ultra Magnus alt mode comparison, we have, of course, the Newage Octavian on the left, and on the right we have the G1 Ultra Magnus. Next up is Ultra Magnus as we saw him from the Combiner Wars line. Our next comparison is the Leader Class Ultra Magnus from the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom. And for our final alt mode comparison, here we see MP22 Masterpiece Ultra Magnus. And yeah, I mean, you can absolutely positively tell where Newage drew their inspiration for Octavian. I mean, this, wow, I don't know many other words. It just looks stunning. Absolutely stunning when you see these two beside each other. Just really, really amazing. All the engineering that's packed into this guy, well, both of these really, but in such a small package. It's just really cool. So yeah, that's it for the comparisons. So let's go ahead and get back into transformation, and we'll bring him back to his Ultra Magnus mode, or his bot mode, excuse me. All right, now that we got the comparisons out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into that transformation and get him back into his bot mode. So the first thing you're going to want to do is separate the trailer from the truck. And this is just a matter of lifting this flap up right here so you can separate those tabs, and that will give you the ability to split this cab right there. If you recall, this is kind of press fit or locked fit in there. So do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the truck off to the side for now, and then I'm going to concentrate on deconstructing the trailer and getting it ready for its robot mode components. So let's go ahead and pull these, take those missile pods off either side, and then we can give this a little pull right here, give this a little pull, come down here, start giving all this a little wiggle, and there's my nemesis right there, this guy. I don't like you, I don't like you. But that's okay, you just give that a little pull and then it comes right out. Now once you bring this out, go ahead and get that ready by flipping that cod piece down and flipping those two pieces. That way you've got everything oriented the way you should. All right, now you can just split all this. It all just falls apart, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But you've got it all into these subcomponents now. So take your arms, give those a wiggle there, split them out. These are on those double hinges, so just lift those up, put those as they should be, and then rotate those arms around, grab that Ultra Magnus head, bring it around, and then spin it 180. And then right here at these arms, they're on those double hinges, so swing those around just like that. Do the same thing over here, swing that around. And then you can take these arm assemblies and you can flip them up. You've got tabs and slots. I know it's a surprise. And squeeze those together, swing those down, do the same thing over here, and you have the Ultra Magnus, armored Ultra Magnus upper body ready to go. So you can set that off to the side, and then we'll work on the lower portion. So we'll take this leg right here. You're going to lift the red pieces up, lift the white pieces up, and then bring this up, and then when you do, go ahead and fold that piece down, take the shin guard or that thigh guard off, set that off to the side. You're going to need that later for your Albino Prime. And then tilt this back a little bit because you've got this tab right here that's going to actually latch into the Albino Prime leg. So just keep that tilted back so it doesn't interfere. And then swing that in and close it and keep that part open. And then come down here to those wheels, bring those wheels down, flip them 180. And bring them back up. That way everything's sitting nice and flush. And you have one lower leg done. Same thing over here. So now you should have all of your subcomponents completed and ready to go on once you get Albino Prime ready to go. Okay? So we're going to take these, we're going to put them off to the side, and then we're going to bring the Albino Prime in, or the cab in, to create the Albino Prime. Now let's go ahead and get this cab transformed. We'll start down here with those legs. So what you're going to want to do, they're already split because you pulled them away from that trailer. You're just going to give those a little bit more of a wiggle. And as you do, these come out. You're going to get a little bit of separation there on either side. All right, and then we're going to turn our attention to this leg first. We're just going to go ahead and take care of that and get it out of the way. So swing this out. As such, take this bumper, which will become the faux tank, and bring that up just like that. And once you do that, you're going to take this shin piece right here, rotate that around 180, and make sure that this doesn't become misaligned for you. Take this wheel, flip that wheel up, flip this foot out, and then you're going to bring the rest of this leg assembly down and give that a nice gentle push, and then that will squeeze into place. Open this flap up and then bring all this down. That'll snap into place, and then take this foot right here, rotate it 90 degrees, bring it all the way down, and then all you have left to do is rotate that toe, and then take this 180, and you have one leg done. So let's go ahead and do this leg. Now it is a little bit different just because of that slot right here on this bumper. So just ever so slightly different. Not that big of a deal, but just something to be aware of. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this wheel out of my way now. All right, so I'm going to come down here. I am going to give all this a little bit of a wiggle. I'm going to push this partially up to the top, and then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to rotate it the rest of the way. The reason I only went partially is because you need to clear this piece and then push this entire assembly up like that, so then you can put that faux tank in the right position. All right, so the rest of the transformation is the same right here. So you're going to bring this down. I'm going to go ahead and get that foot out of the way as I'm coming. I'm going to lift this tab up right there, that flap up, bring this down, give it a snap, rotate this foot 90 degrees, bring that down, get that toe out of my way, and then rotate that leg 180 degrees. So once we have this in place, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to untab this little gray piece right here, and that's going to make everything all loose again. So go ahead and untab that, and now everything's all jiggly, and we're ready for the next step. So what we're going to need to do for the next step here is these leg pieces, or these wheel pieces right here, need to come down. And when I give this a pull right here, everything's going to come apart, and that's okay. But before I do that, I want to open these doors just to give everybody, or give all these pieces clearance. So get in there as best you can. If you do need to pop these loose a little bit right there just to get to those doors, go for it. And open those up, and then do the same thing over here. Open those doors, and go ahead and proactively take this little front cab assembly out of your way. Now that you've done that, go ahead and give this a pull, and everything's gonna get all loose and jiggly on you, and that's okay. All right, so now that we are here, we've got this out of the way, go ahead and take those arms, give those arms a pull. Just make sure everything is clear. Give those arms a pull and bring those out, so those arms are out of your way as well. All right, so you should have a big old exploded chunk. Looks like that, approximately. While you're here, you can take this, if you recall, this cod piece right here, you're going to rotate that 180 degrees, oh so carefully so you don't pop this off. And then you're going to rotate this waist around 180 degrees so everything's oriented properly. All right, now that you have these arms up, you're going to go ahead and you're going to rotate these around. Just make sure you're clearing everything. All right, and rotate this one around. And go ahead and collapse those forearms. So you've got that all taken care of. Now that opens up the clearance that you need down here to tuck away the rest of this cab. But since we're going to make him Albino Prime for him first, let's go ahead and pop his head out. And just have that head hanging out right there. And then we've got a wide open spot right here. Or what we can do now is take these pieces. We'll start with these little cab pieces right here. You're going to fold those in like that. Do the same thing on the other side. And then you have a point right here where you're going to fold on that axis right there. And then once you do that, then you're just going to start tucking everything away in here, and then boom, all that tucks away nice and convenient like. Once you've done that, now you can take this piece and you can wiggle that out, and then carefully rotate this 180 degrees so as not to scratch the paint, and then rotate it 180 degrees on this axis. And then take these pieces, you're going to rotate them around. These are going to become your abs. And you can kind of see where this is going, hopefully. And then what I like to do is I like to put my thumb right here and tuck all that away. Give it a little bit of pressure. That way those stay nice and tucked, because when he's in Albino Prime mode, these do like to get a little loose on you. So it's always good to give them a little extra added pressure right there and encouragement to stay where they should. And then you can take this waist assembly and bring all that down and give that a little bit of a push. And then, being aware of your hip skirts, lift these up, flare those hip skirts out, and then you can take these legs and push them up on the hips where they belong. Bring those arms down, bring them around, drop that prime head, and then just turn these fists. And there you have, once you tighten him up, there you have Ultra Magnus or Albino Prime back in his robot mode. Now it's a bit of a bummer, but in order to get him into full-blown Magnus mode, a lot of what we just did we need to undo and redo just to get this figure ready for the armor. So once you get him into the Albino Prime mode, you're just going to need to go back and do a few little things. So let's go ahead and get into that. So what you're going to need to do is go ahead and pull this guy apart again. Like I say, it's kind of a bummer, because what you're going to need to do is you're going to need primarily to reset these arms in the position for Ultra Magnus. So you're going to need to rotate these arms 180, which requires the undoing of a lot of this. So you're just going to swing this down. You're going to untuck all of this in here, bring that out so it's out of your way. And then you're going to take these arms and you're going to rotate those arms 180 degrees on that joint right there. And then now you can go ahead and tuck all this back in again. Before we do that though, he's not going to be Optimus Prime, he's going to be Ultra Magnus. So we're going to tuck that Prime head away, make sure it's all tucked and looking good in there. All right, now we will take all these pieces, stick them back in, swing that in, bring this piece back up. And once we're here, I'm going to take these Prime arms and you're going to swing them like this, and then you're going to fold them right there. So you should have something that looks like that. And you should have something that looks like that. And then ultimately what I found is the hand orientation here, it's entirely up to you. I'm okay with the position that they're in because at least they're flat, so there's not a lot of texture there. So when you do slide that Ultra Magnus assembly on top, it looks as it should, or at least in my opinion, I think it does. All right, so now I'm going to leave all this undone and loose because we are going to need to take our little cod piece and we're going to put the cod piece in here. So if you notice, you have two little tiny tabs right here and right here, and you're going to line that up and give those a squeeze. So find those slots for those tabs, line them up, give them a squeeze, drop that cod piece, and now you can squeeze all of this back together once you've got that cod piece in place. So give these a little bit of a squeeze, bring them down, and push. And with that cod piece in there, he's actually much tighter in the Ultra Magnus mode than he is in the Albino Prime mode. So that's step one, you got that cod piece in there. Now for the next thing, go ahead and take your thigh guards and put the thigh guards on. So just line them up. You have slots there, tabs in the thigh guards, line them up, squeeze them on. Now, once you've done that, let's go ahead and put the lower legs on before we get everything going on up here. So take your lower legs, make sure you don't have any ankle tilt. Make sure everything is straightened out here because these are just going to slide right on straight into that. So you do have a port right here, and deep inside there you've got a peg right in there. So those are going to line up, get everything all set, give it a slide, and you're actually going to feel the friction when you put that in that pin. And then right back here you have your tab and your slot. So give that a push, that'll lock that in, and then just close this up, give that a little bit of a squeeze, and you have one Ultra Magnus leg done. And now you do the same thing over here. And there you have Ultra Magnus legs. So not too bad, right? Now our last major step is just going to be putting this on. So you can do this before or after. Don't forget to throw your hands on. I'm just going to put this on first. So you have on the Albino Prime and the Ultra Magnus, you have these tabs that are going to correspond to these slots right here in this. But then you're also going to have this cavity right here that's going to slide up, and then it's going to provide you a little bit of a friction. So even without those tabbed in, it's still going to hold that. But then once you get it located where you want it to be, then you just line up those tabs and those slots and give those a push, and do the same thing over here. And voila, as the French say, you have Ultra Magnus, at least the upper body, done. So then you can go ahead and take your pick of whatever hands you want to use. So I think in this case, I'll just give him a fist and a pointer. I know I'll give him a fist and a splayed out hand. That's fun. I haven't done a splayed out hand in a minute. So let's take the splayed out hand and plug that in. And then to top it all off, we have to give him his missiles. So go ahead, there you've just got ports right there. Plug it in and plug it in. And boom, you are done. You have the Newage Octavian, aka Legends class masterpiece Ultra Magnus, back in his full bot mode, rip raring to go. All right, so that we've already done comparisons, we've done details, we've done everything we need to do for this guy. So now we are going to jump into those final thoughts. Yeah, so let's talk about the Newage Toys Octavian. Just putting it as shortly and bluntly as possible, if you have the means to get this figure, absolutely positively get this figure. He is without a doubt a mini masterpiece. This is definitely a Legends scaled masterpiece figure, and he's just a blast. He's fun to transform. There's one little part on his trailer that bugs me a little bit, but for the most part, this guy is fun. He's easy. I enjoy it. He looks good in both modes. Comes with a slew of accessories. Can't say enough good things about this figure, but let's go ahead and try to quantify that a little bit. We'll start with the aesthetics. There's not much to say here. This guy looks great in his bot mode. He looks amazing in all three modes, whether it be the Ultra Magnus, whether it be the unarmed Ultra Magnus or the Albino Prime, or whether it be his vehicle mode. He looks amazing. It's just astounding, the accuracy that Newage was able to get here. It just blows me away. Really, the only thing I could say is, as far as like a wish list item might go, is it would be nice. We got interchangeable hands. It would have been nice maybe for some interchangeable faces. But yeah, for the most part, this guy, it blows me away for his size. So for aesthetics on this guy, I'm giving him a 10 out of 10. Now, moving on to articulation, you really don't want for much here. You can get him in just about any position that you want in either mode. Now, the Albino Prime mode is definitely more flexible. There's just more range of movement there simply because there's not as much robot kibble hanging off everywhere, or I shouldn't say kibble, but big bulky geometry like those big old legs. The Albino Prime, you get a little bit more articulation out of him than you do in the Ultra Magnus mode, but either one, really, really well done. An ab crunch, a genuine true ab crunch would have been nice. And then I guess from I don't want to call it a complaint. It's just a wish list. More foot movement in the Ultra Magnus mode. So the ability to move the feet up and down and not just have the ankle tilt, I think would have been helpful as well to get him in some more dynamic poses. But overall, articulation is great. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. Moving on to accessories. This guy comes loaded. I mean, you get extra hands, you get a bunch of guns, you get, of course, the missile pods. He comes with almost all the accessories that you could ever want. Really, the only thing I could wish for is, sure would have been nice if those guns would have been painted. They look great. The detail molded into them is great, but it would have been nice if there was some paint on those guns. The Prime rifle has paint in the stock, but the two white rifles that you use for the Ultra Magnus mode, both of those are just plain. There's no paint whatsoever, so it would have been nice to have some there. And I wish more manufacturers would get on board with having effects for their figures. So I have a War for Cybertron effect on the figure right now, and it works. But it would have been nice if he would have come with his own. So for accessories, I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. Moving on to quality. Really no major complaints in quality whatsoever. He came with everything he was supposed to. All the joints are tight for the most part. There are no paint issues that I have. There are no issues with the molded pieces that I have. The biggest thing that I could say is when he's in his Albino Prime mode, that midsection gets loose real easy. So it doesn't take much at all to have him come loose and have those abs start to look like they're kind of falling apart on you. So I don't want to necessarily call that a quality issue, but Man, if that joint was just a tick tighter, that would have been nice. Everything else on this guy is great, though. So overall quality, I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. And to our last bullet here is overall value. This is where he's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. I will preface it by saying you get amazing engineering and amazing quality, and I couldn't hardly want for anything more in a Legends class figure. All that being said, and I knew what I was getting into, I pre-ordered this guy. It was a pre-order from tfsource.com, and the pre-order price was $105 US. So he is not cheap. He's not inexpensive, I guess I should say. He's not cheap either. But you know, this is a significant investment. The $105 US goes a long way, and you know, it's really going to be a hard pill to swallow as to whether or not you want to pick this guy up. But if you do have the means, I will tell you, I think 100% he is worth it. So overall value, I'm giving him an 8 out of 10. And that brings us to our grand total here. We have a grand total out of a possible 50 points. The Newage Octavian gets 45 out of 50 points, which puts him at an overall 90%. Makes this guy super easy to recommend. It really is. My only caveat is that price. Everything else on this guy is astounding. I don't have enough good words for him. Just if you have the means, then absolutely, positively get this figure. I don't think you're going to have any regrets. So with that, that's going to wrap up the review. As always, guys, thank you so much for your support. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you got some good information out of it. I hope you were entertained. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. And if you feel like it, leave some comments. Let me know what you think about this figure. This is my first dip into Newage, and I don't think it's going to be my last one. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Until we see you in the next review, take care.